So that's why we call it Adventures with Yarn. This is just it. Hello, my name is Louise and welcome to Adventures with Yarn. This is my knitting and crochet YouTube channel in which I talk about and show the things that I knit and crochet. Thank you so much for taking the time to come check this out. If you are a first-time viewer, welcome. Thank you. If you like what you see, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you so very much and welcome back. Alright, well, if you would like to connect with me, you can do so by commenting down below, or you could find me on Instagram at adventureswithyarn.com, or even better, you could join my free website, adventureswithyarn.com, which is a social media platform free of censorship, or rather, it's under my government. And I've not had to censor any true hate speech. We have a very lovely community over there. You can join this podcast community. That's where I host my giveaways and contests. You can join other YouTubers groups there. You could make your own if you want. Anyways, it's fun, it's free, and I highly encourage you to go check it out. Alright, so I have a couple things to talk to you guys about. I'm going to talk to you about what I'm wearing. I'm going to talk to you about a finished object that I have. Actually, the first finished object of this year. Oh my gosh. I have a couple works in progress. And I have personal IVF stuff, IVF fertility stuff to go over also, but we'll save that for last in case that is not your jam. Okay, so what I'm wearing. I don't often wear things that I make because I don't have a whole lot that I actually make for myself. But I made this. This is the very first adult size sweater. The only adult size sweater that I have made and finished. I made it for myself. It was already a fairly comfortably loose fit. I've since lost some weight. And so it's just an even more looser and comfy, cozy fit. I like it a lot. The pattern is by Hohi Locatelli. It is the basic raglan pullover. At the time that I made this, I found that I couldn't really find any sweater patterns that were inclusive for my size at the time. I feel like designers have gotten better about that, but like at the time, all the rage was the no frills pullover, which I think is now available in larger sizes, but at the time it didn't just straight up come in the size that I needed. And being a beginner sweater knitter, like I was not about to try to finagle it to be the right size, which I suppose is possible, but I mean, I did not want to mess with that. So this was the sweater for me. I made it out of Amy Florence yarn from her Stranded Dye Works, and the color is called Midnight Sun. It is I believe it is in 100% BFL wool, and it is lovely. It's so nice. I love the color. It's this grayish purple and it feels fantastic. It's not scratchy. It feels wonderful. The neckline is a little looser now, and I can't help but wonder if the way that it was sitting on the hanger in the closet may have stretched out the neckline a little bit, but you can see it's not too high of a neckline, just kind of right there. I did have a mistake here that I decided to leave. I guess I'm a pretty lazy knitter, but I did have a mistake as I was trying to work on the helix. Oh, I can't remember what the technique's called. It's like helix in the round. Basically, the technique that you should use if you're using hand-dyed yarn to make one solid garment, so that you don't have like specific pooling of the colors, because it's hand-dyed. You just never know, you know, how it's going to go. So I was doing that incorrectly. Unfortunately, the start of the round started at the front of the sweater. I only did it for like, I don't know, maybe like five or six rounds until I changed up my technique. And when I changed up my technique and was doing it correctly, then you no longer saw the little seam, but you do there, but whatever. Gives it character, right? And then I want to show you this adorable necklace. Let me show you this. So if you can see this, look at this little ball of yarn, and with the initials AWY for Adventures with Yarn. I got this custom made by a jeweler by the name of Kate Flory, Kate with a C, C-A-T-E, Flory, F-L-O-R-E-Y. You can find her on Etsy, I believe, definitely Instagram and Facebook. She has a really cool Facebook group. And she makes this beautiful, what do you call that, stamped jewelry, and you can have, you know, like a little image you want stamped, or a little saying, phrase, words, letters, and she makes stuff also. Super, super cute. I got my own little Adventures with Yarn necklace. And I actually have another necklace just like this without the Adventures with Yarn little thing, unfortunately. But as part of the next contest with prizes, there will be a necklace like this with a ball of yarn on it. Let's talk about that real quick. So we finished up the great postcard, the great digital postcard rally on adventureswithyarn.com, and that was where we had people put in pictures of what things are like in their neck of the woods, and we got to see a lot of snowy pictures at this time of year, which was beautiful all over the country. I don't think we had any international posts. I think they were all within the country, and so pretty, so much fun. So we had people submitting those, and we did draw a winner, and the winner is Brittany. I believe that her YouTube podcast is called Turtle Burger Crochet. I really enjoy interacting with Brittany on the site and on Instagram, and I'm so glad that she won. Congratulations. And now it's time for the next contest, which I've been trying really hard to keep my lips closed about until now, but I may have let it slip here and there. But what we're going to do is a sock knitting contest. You might be saying, oh, again, like the frozen knit along, but no, this is a little bit different. This is going to be not a knit along per se. This is specifically going to be a contest. If you are familiar with Sock Madness, this might sound familiar. What I'm going to do is Sock Sanity. Yeah. And also, if you're familiar with Sock Madness, what it is a sock knitting contest hosted on Ravelry. You have so many patterns and so many rounds. You try to get to the next round. Very Ravelry centered chats, groups, and stuff on Ravelry. We are doing Sock Sanity completely Ravelry free. Hence Sock Sanity. Pun off of Sock Madness. No judgment if you still use Ravelry, or you choose to use Ravelry. You do you, that's fine. But there are those who choose not to use Ravelry, and there are those who didn't get a choice and just got kicked off Ravelry. So Sock Sanity is going to be hosted on my website, adventureswithyarn.com. We are going to use free patterns that I will be announcing as each round progresses, and all the patterns that I'm using are free and are hosted on websites outside of Ravelry. So you do not need to be on Ravelry to be a part of this contest. I have a lot of prizes being sent my way from being donated from makers and yarn dyers, and I'm really excited. So head on over to the adventureswithyarn.com website to find out more information. Hopefully I'll be posting more information soon. This is going to start the 1st of March. And I think there's going to be about like 4 or 5 rounds. There will be prizes for the winners of each round. There'll be a grand prize for the winner overall. And there will be some random prizes too for certain hashtags or using the or being in the chat thread online. So stay tuned, watch my Instagram, and go to the website. On the website, you can go to groups and then find the Adventures with Yarn podcast group, and there we have discussion threads, and you will see it. Maybe not today, the day that I post this video, but soon. And the starting date is March 1st. So if you're like me, you've got some socks on the needles, let's get those off the needles so that we can put new socks on the needles and go crazy for sock sanity. All right, so much fun. I'm so excited. I hope you are too, and stay tuned. All right, so how about finished object? So I've been doing actually quite a bit of monogamous knitting. The projects were starting to pile up, being made at the same time. I kind of just honed in on the one project. If you may recall, I was working feverishly on 2 different projects that were both like so addicting. It was hard to tear myself away from one to work on the other, and that was my Soldotna crop sweater and also my Dust of Snow shawl. The Soldotna has had no progress made on it since last podcast. So if you saw the last episode, then you have seen my Soldotna, which is basically the body, the cropped body is finished. I just have to put on the sleeves, and I am going to modify those sleeves to be a little bit longer, and then it should be done. But as close to having a finished object as that may be, I have just been pouring myself into the Dust of Snow wrap. So I'm going to show that to you now. So we have the Dust of Snow shawl or wrap by Helen of Curious Handmade. Oh my gosh. So I am finished except for weaving in ends. Maybe I can see if I can start from the beginning here. Okay, let's see here. So we have this part here. This is made with the Cornbread and Honey Advent Calendar mini skeins. This is the stitch marker that marks where I was at last episode. And as you can see, a whole lot was made in the meantime. So this yarn is not exactly a fade, kind of, sort of, but not really. But beautiful yarn nonetheless, hand dyed by Cornbread and Honey. And then here we get to the end, very pink. This was held double with mohair. So if you can see the fuzziness, see the halo that is this fuzz. This is so soft. I love it so much. Let me show you this progress keeper too, because it is totes adorbs. It is so cute. This was the, let's see for here. This was the Donut of the Month charm for January, which I usually treat myself to get January versions of certain things of the month, because January is my birthday month. So if you can see, this is a polymer clay progress keeper. This is kind of a donut with little snowy little mountains and a moon, and it's kind of sparkly. So cute. This is made by Charmed and Dangerous. You can find her on Etsy. She is so talented. I really have come to love what she makes so much. As she has been gaining popularity, you really are best to follow her on Instagram so you can see when she's going to have shop updates, especially things like Charm of the Month clubs, things like that, because they will sell out. They will sell out like within the hour that she posts them on her shop. So highly encourage you to check her out. She is going to be donating a prize too for the sock knit along. I wonder if it'll have anything to do with socks, but even if it doesn't, it will be so cute because everything she makes is so cute. So this wrap is humongous. Besides it being as long as it is, I made it wider. Let's see. I think there are supposed to be like 12 repeats, and I added 2 repeats to make it wider. Definitely was a project. Even being wider, it definitely used up my advent calendar minis, and I still have minis left over. I'm halfway considering using my minis for like to make like some wrist warmers maybe. I don't know, or I could just add them into my scrappy striped blanket. You guys, I feel like I'm being hugged by a cloud with this wrap. It's so soft. I mean, and if I just drape it just down the front, like you can't even, if I stand up, not that you can see the ground, but it like almost touches the ground. Like the very, very bottoms are like almost to my ankles. Like it's so long. Anyways, this has been so much fun. This actually was not this last knit vent, but was part of the knit vent pattern bundle of, I want to say 2018. And hence also, I'm pretty sure that she has some wrist warmers that have the same pattern. This pattern was so much fun because it was, once you got the hang of it, it was memorizable, it was predictable, just kind of worked along at it, which is part of the reason why I think it was so addicting, was knowing the pattern and, you know, wondering what the next color is gonna look like in the scheme of things. So much fun, so much fun. And yeah, you know, I haven't really ever said that I'm sad something's come off the needles, because I am so much of a finished project, like a project knitter versus a process knitter. But I'm gonna have to like do something else similar too, definitely, because this was way too much fun. Great use of yarn. Oh, and by the way, the yardage that I use, 2,555 yards. That is because I did hold it double with mohair. So I am counting the yardage of the mohair as well as the yardage of the yarn. And that is going to go, finally, into the thread on the Adventures with Yarn podcast group of the Yarnathon, 2021 Yarnathon, so that we can see how much yardage, how much mileage that we get out of our knitting for this year. So that's how many yards. That is close to a 3K, I guess, right? If like a 5K is like 5,000 yards, close to a 3K. I'm just finally glad to finally get something off the needles. I mean, here we are in the second week of February, and I'm finally having a finished object of 2021. It's probably just because I just knit too many things all at the same time. So I hope to have several finished objects then kind of clumped together coming out as I finish things up. So, whew. All right, so I'm going to show you some works in progress. So, this is a work in progress. Oh, I have to remember the name of this. So this is a crocheted. It is I think it's the One Skein Cowl Light. This is a free project online, and I have a conundrum here. So this yarn, so stinking pretty. I could have sworn that I had 2 skeins of this yarn, and I was laughing to myself because I was like, oh my gosh, what are the chances that I have 2 skeins of this yarn in my deep stash? I probably didn't even know that I had the one when I bought the other, but of course I bought it again because this is like right up my alley. Like the colors, the teal and the bright pink, so pretty. And then I thought, well, I definitely want to use this to make a cowl, and this website, you know, says that this is a 1 skein cowl. I needed something to crochet because my wrists were hurting from knitting, so I needed something a little bit different. This ended up using the whole skein and not being finished, which I thought, okay, you know, that's fine. Yeah, I didn't check gauge because I never do, so that's on me. But I have a second ball of yarn, so it's fine. It's such a pretty color. I'll just use the second one to finish it. And now I can't find the second skein. And now I'm starting to wonder if there ever was a second skein. I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, I can't find it anywhere. And I've looked in all the places it should be. I mean, my yarn is kind of organized. It's like very generally organized, but at the same time, kind of messy. And yeah, I've looked in the places where it should be, and it's not there. And yeah, honestly, I'm starting to wonder, like, if I got mixed up, if I just ran across the same skein like in 2 different places and thought that I had 2 of them. I don't even know. And of course, when I did find it, it didn't have its label, and I thought that I had 2 of them without labels, which would have been fitting for when I bought it, because I remember buying it very early on in my knitting experience. And it just was wound up the way that the shop winds it up, and I just was too naive to know to stick the tag in the middle. I kind of think I remember it being hedgehog fibers yarn, but I'm not sure. And then I've looked at hedgehog fibers and saw some very similarly colored yarns, but not exactly. I don't know. So that's why we call it Adventures with Yarn. This is just it. So here we are. I have this cowl, which is supposed to have about 10 more rows of this little bean stitch. I'm just giving it this texture before we go back on to some ribbing texture. And I think what I decided to do, going along with the advice given to me by my husband, who is typically the voice of reason in my life, is to use this as an excuse to go through my yarn and organize everything very nicely and precisely and see if the yarn turns up. And just set this aside. Don't do anything rash. Just set it aside and wait and see if the yarn turns up. I think a couple episodes ago I showed you guys a little cowlette, little collar shawl that turned up. I mean, I'm talking years. It turned up years after I had lost it. And maybe that will happen again. I don't know. I mean, I think I'll just have to make another cowl with some bright, fun colored yarn, because that is what I was wanting. I'm not counting this as part of the yarnathon, because the yarnathon for me personally is for finished objects, to give me the motivation to finish objects. So I'm just gonna chalk this up to something that happens. I have another progress keeper here by Charmed and Dangerous. It's so stinking cute. We have this little skunk here. Can see that. So cute. So cute. Yeah. So hopefully I find that yarn soon. I'll keep you updated. We will see. We shall see. Okay, so that will remain a work in progress. Hopefully, if not for long, hopefully I will find the other yarn. We'll see what happens. All right. Next, I'm going to show you guys some progress I have on a sock. This sock doesn't really have a pattern. It is just a vanilla shorty sock. This is my IVF travel knitting. So if you've seen my Instagram lately, you may have seen me posting my progress on this sock and taking the opportunity to also give updates on my IVF journey. I've been saving this sock. First it was being used for like only when I was like gaming, doing board games, in between turns, something to work on. And then it became my travel knitting because it takes us about like 45 minutes to an hour, I think, to drive from our house up to the hospital that we are doing our fertility treatments at. And then I get there and I have to wait. And one time I had to like sit in an exam room for ages. I think that they forgot about me, honestly. And but I was fine because I had my knitting and actually was able to work on turning the heel and picking up the stitches, which is like my least favorite part of knitting a sock, is picking up the stitches for the gusset. So I was able to do that at least. But yeah, this is just a plain sock. I'm making this for my husband. It is made out of Knit Picks yarn. I think the color is called Speckle Spark. I'm not crazy about this color, and actually my husband picked it out and bought it for me, so why not make it for him? I've made him Rose City roller socks in the past with the little rolled cuff of the shorty sock, and he had actually asked, he's like, well, I wish that it would just be flat. So I've made shorty socks with like the ribbed cuff and then a little bit of stockinette before going into the heel, but this is just straight up ribbing and then going into the heel. So it should, I think in theory, it should be fine. We'll wait until we get this sock finished. And of course it's for my husband, so it's a big sock, so it's gonna take a while. But I'm on the stockinette part. And so, you know, just knitting in the round until we get the length. It just will take a little while. And here we go. Another stitch marker by Charmed and Dangerous. We have a little hedgehog here. So cute. So cute. And that was kind of helping remind me to not be so prickly when I was being very hormonal and driving up to fertility treatments in a car with just me and my husband. It needed to be nice. So yeah, I hope to make this soon. I'm either gonna try to get this off the needles, or I have another sock that is about at the same place of progress. One of these I'm gonna need to get off the needles soon so that I can knit along with the Sock Sanity contest. Sadly, I'm not gonna let myself compete in it. I'm gonna be knitting along with everybody. I just don't feel that it's fair though, as I am the one hosting it and I will be the one judging it too. So can't very well be the judge and try to win my own prizes. But because there are so many cute prizes. If you guys have been a part of any of my contests in the past, you know that I love mailing off prizes and they are cute. So I really hope that you join me with that. Okay, so let's talk about IVF stuff. So I think last time I spoke with you, I was gearing up, I was taking pills, gearing up for what was going to come. Then we got the medications for all the shots. So the shots are often called stim shots because they stimulate the ovaries to produce as many eggs as they can. I have since had a large cyst on one of my ovaries that they were not able to remove from the ovary. In 2019, they had to take the ovary out with the cyst. It was too enmeshed. And so I only have one ovary, but they are able to stimulate that one ovary to make it make as many eggs as it can. So that whole process took a couple weeks. I don't think it always takes a couple weeks. I think it very much depends, because what I was doing was taking these shots, and they are what we call subcutaneous shots. That means in the fat right under the skin. So like a little needle poked usually in your tummy, a nice, you know, I want to say a fatty part of your stomach, which I did not have trouble finding. Just a little bit of skin on your tummy where you can like pinch the skin, grab it, poke, give yourself a shot. I had a shot in the morning and a shot in the evening. So I was like carefully watching the times, and all this time too, I had pills to take with my food, with lunch or with dinner, prenatal vitamins to take, blah, blah, blah. So I honestly, to keep myself organized, I had to write things out on a physical calendar so I could physically have things to check off. But once I got into the swing of things, it kind of became more of a routine. So like every day I know, okay, you know, this time in the morning, usually like 10 and 10. So I'm like, by 10 in the morning, I need to give myself my morning shot. 10 in the evening, we do the evening shot. And so you do that, and then you go in to get an ultrasound, and they watch the follicles develop. So your ovary starts developing all these follicles, and with the hope being that each follicle will be developing an egg inside of it. So you go to ultrasound, and they're measuring how many follicles and how big the follicles are, and then they determine when they want you to come back for the next ultrasound, and they determine like if they want you to change your medication. So based on the growth of the follicles could be how long you would need to be taking the stim shots, the shots to stimulate the ovary. My follicles were growing, but kind of like at a kind of slow rate, but yet not slow enough for them to increase the medications. But basically I took stim shots for 2 weeks, like for 14 days. And so yeah, like I said, they measure the follicles, and then they have you give yourself a trigger shot, and they tell you specifically to the hour and the minute, like what time they want you to take this trigger shot, and to time that up to be like 35 hours before your egg retrieval procedure. So the trigger shot is not a sub-Q shot. The trigger shot is actually an intramuscular shot. That means like a bigger needle, and kind of like in your backside, like the back of your love handle, which I can't do without twisting. And this whole time too, with my ovary like growing full of follicles and eggs, I'm on light duty at work. I can't lift more than 25 pounds. I'm not supposed to twist, which is a whole nother story. I feel like I have like chronic hip pain from doing caregiving and nursing work for so long, and so to not twist and pop and creak and crack, it's like so uncomfortable. So people are asking me like how I feel, and I'm just like, I don't even know. I can't tell what hurts why. I just don't know. Anyways, so I had one of my nursing friends give me my trigger shot, and I had made arrangements with her like weeks in advance because I knew I wanted a nurse to give me my shot. My husband was not up for it, so I wanted one of my coworkers, and specifically one of my best friends, be the one to give it to me. But we were not anticipating it to be late at night. We literally had to do it at like 11:30 at night before both of us were supposed to go to work the next day. So that was too bad, but she was such a great sport about it. She let me and my husband come over. She was able to get a little sleep before, and we came. I brought all my stuff. I drew it up myself. I wanted to draw it up myself, and then gave it to her, and she gave me the shot. And then we went for the egg retrieval, and previously before the egg retrieval, they had counted almost 20 follicles, which they were really excited about. They were like, wow, like that's a lot of follicles, and you just have the one ovary, but your one ovary is like an overachiever. Like, this is great. So then, got like fuzz on my lips. I went to the egg retrieval, which was interesting. It is not, you're not like put under like anesthesia, but it's more conscious sedation. So basically how the anesthesiologist described it to me is like, we're going to give you really heavy pain meds, and you're going to be awake, and you're probably going to remember most of it, but some of it's going to be a little bit fuzzy. So I was like, okay. And I think that was perfectly how she described it. Like, I remember being awake and was making small talk with the anesthesiologist and the med attendant as they're like putting the heart monitor on me, getting my IV, getting me all ready. And then the doctor came in and talked with her too. And I remember the actual procedure. I do remember it hurting. Not as bad as some other procedures that I've had. Like, I think the procedure that has hurt the most for me is called an HSG, when they push dye through your fallopian tube to make sure it's patent. that hurt. But this didn't hurt as bad, but I do remember it hurting. But then like it does get fuzzy. It gets fuzzy because I remember thinking back to like, well, I know I was awake because I remember the hurt would come like in little waves, but the timing doesn't line up. Like I think I lost some time. What I remember is it being over, and they told me we retrieved 8 eggs. And at first I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, I thought that they predicted like 10 to 14 eggs based on how many follicles I had. Like, why did I only get 8? But then I was just so sleepy. Like, they were done with everything and they were just like cleaning up. And I remember saying like, hey, I'm just gonna close my eyes and take a nap for a moment. They were like, okay. And I did. Just laid back, took a nap. And that, I mean, I had to stay back there for the recovery phase anyways. Like, they had to hang on to me and wait till I was like good to stand up. And I did. So since then, I haven't really spoken to my doctor specifically about why we got 8, but also speaking again to my husband, the voice of reason, we've done a little bit of research, and basically 8 to 14 eggs seems to be about an average for anyone to have retrieved, given that they have 2 ovaries. So having the 1 ovary and retrieving 8 eggs, like, is still great. It's great. You know, I think ideally your hope would be that you retrieve more eggs, because the more eggs that you get, the chances, you know, that more of them will go on to the next level. So there's a couple of different levels. You know, basically your number of follicles is going to be the biggest number, then how many eggs they retrieve. And because not every follicle will have an egg. Then not every egg that's retrieved is going to be mature. Not every mature egg will successfully be fertilized or inseminated. Not every inseminated egg will grow to the blastocyst phase, which is the 5 to 6 day mark. And then of those embryos, any embryo that ends up getting transferred may not always successfully transfer to end up in a viable pregnancy, to end up with a live birth. So it's kind of like the higher you can start with, you know, the better your chances. But you find yourself, or at least I find myself in this predicament, having these margins, because I don't want to end up with 0, which does happen. Sometimes people only get so many eggs, sometimes not all of, I mean, they get scaled down to 0 and end up having 0. And then the other side of the dilemma is if you end up with too many, if you have a viable pregnancy, or maybe you have like a ton of healthy, viable embryos, you have to decide what to do with those. And I am okay telling you guys that I feel very passionately about being pro-life. I would not want to terminate any healthy, viable embryos. I would rather, you know, try to keep getting pregnant with them, or even adopt them out to other couples, because that is a thing you can do. You can adopt healthy embryos. So for me, best case scenario would be to only have a couple healthy, viable embryos so that we can transfer a couple of them. So it very well could be, my best case scenario would be that we've retrieved all the eggs that will become the healthy embryos, which will become our children, our little crew, our little batch. So I find myself in this very strange land of limbo, being like, wow, I wish that there were more so we have more chances. But at the same time, I have to tell myself to calm down. As long as we don't end up at 0, it's gonna be fine. Either if we get one healthy embryo that results in a healthy transfer, a healthy pregnancy, healthy child, even just one is going to be a blessing, and we'll be set. We'll be good. And excuse me. And if we have more than that, also good. We can, now this is trippy, we can freeze them and use them for later. You can freeze the healthy embryos and transfer them later when you're ready to have a second child, second, third child, so on and so forth. So where we're at right now, like I said, they retrieved 8 eggs. 6 of those were able to successfully be inseminated. And that falls in line with what I was saying, right? Not every mature egg is going to be inseminated. You can kind of count on like a 20 to 40% of the batch not making it. So we've gone from 8 to 6, and in a couple of days I'll get a phone call to see how many made it to the 5 to 6 day blastocyst phase, which is, as far as I understand, which is the point then where they can be frozen, and they'll start working on my body, preparing it for the transfer, which is going to take a while. If you've stayed around this long, I hope you don't mind all this information. I hope that's why you're here. But basically, we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks from the egg retrieval to the transfer of making me pregnant. I have to get a polyp removed out of my uterus, and they want to prepare my body also for with medications to receive the embryo. So that's where we're at. I am definitely enjoying not doing the stim shots anymore. My tummy is like all kinds of bruised and like these green bruises circling my belly button. And now it's just nice to think, you know, this is out of my hands right now. This is in the laboratory, and we will see. And my body's feeling better. Oh my gosh, like they told me that I'd be able to feel my ovary, and that seemed like a strange thing, but even though I wasn't able to like physically like touch and feel it, I definitely, like, if I moved a certain way, I could feel there was something big inside of me. And there was. And I'm still on light duty as they let my ovary recover, but I'm definitely feeling better when I move to bend and pick up things, or move to my side in the bed when I sleep. Like, it definitely feels more comfortable. It must be, you know, shrinking and recovering. Which also, by the way, they tell you about this bloat with egg retrieval. I think that I have enough padding. I have enough cushion that, like, it's kind of hard to tell if I was really bloated. You know, like some like really skinny girls get like this little pooch when they're bloated. They're like, oh look, I'm so bloated. That's not the case with me. I did feel pretty bloated though. The day heading up to the egg retrieval, I was just like, ooh, okay, yeah, I'm feeling this. I am feeling this full feeling, even though I hadn't eaten, because you can't eat the day of the egg retrieval. And then going home, as I've been taking a couple days to rest, just feeling better. So that is a thing. I guess a lot of other people get really painful after their egg retrieval. I was sent home with some codeine, Tylenol with codeine. I only took 2 doses. It was a little bit painful, but actually I was more uncomfortable on the way up, like right before the egg retrieval. But again, like I know I have like some hip pain, and I don't know what's what. I just am going along. I'm here for it. So I'm just going along for the ride. So yeah, like I said, other people have experiences with a lot of bloat, a lot of pain. I would say mine was not that bad. Also, being hormonal, like I did get pretty cranky for a few days, but overall, in general, like my husband was actually like, whoa, you're actually being like even nicer and sweeter than normal. But what is the deal? I think the excitement of the IVF may have overrode the hormonal parts. And also being on light duty at work means that like I get like way easier duties than normal, and while still getting to be at work and talking to my coworkers and stuff. So that definitely took off a lot of stress. So yeah, anyways, if you'd like some more information about my experience, just reach out to me and we can talk. Or if you know, want to connect, if you've gone through something similar, or you think that you might end up going through something similar, hit me up. Obviously, I am free and open to talk about this kind of stuff. All right, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. I really hope to see you on adventureswithyarn.com, especially as we gear up for the Sock Sanity knitting contest. All right, guys, thank you so much. I wish you well, and I will see you next time. Bye.